The top reasons I think that you're struggling to get in the shape that you want to for the summer this year. We're going to break them all down in this video. The main ones that I think are the ones that really stand out, that sometimes we don't even think about. Sometimes we don't want to think about it, but they're the main reasons that are stopping us from going from where we are right now to where we want to be, and particularly where we want to be at the end of our diet. The first one, we're going to get straight into it, is our nutrition. That big overarching part of our day. The food follows us around all day. You know what I mean? Everything else that we're doing on a daily basis to try and lose body fat is done at a certain period of time for a certain period of time. The food follows us around all day, from the minute we start eating until the minute we stop eating every single day. And I think that's the biggest issue that a lot of us have, whether that is just the adherence to the nutrition and the plan that we have, the sustainability of the plan that we're on, or the actual setup of the plan that we might be on. Make sure that that plan is set up for you to lose weight, for you to possibly lose that X amount of body fat, X amount of body weight that you are trying to lose per week. Okay, for example, that might be a kilo of fat per week across 16 weeks. You think you have about 16 kilo to lose? Okay, I'm going to give myself 16, maybe 20 weeks to lose that weight. Make sure that that diet is set up properly for you to be able to do that. And if your rate of loss is too slow and you're adhering to the plan at 100%, it's perfect for you to adhere to, but the rate of loss is still too slow, it might just mean that your food is still a little bit too high. You know, if you've just gone from your bulking phase into your cut, you might think that your cutting calories are higher than they actually are. You know, some of us don't realize that our calories have to get quite low, you know, realistically have to get quite low for us to get in shape. Even though you might be eating a lot of food while you're bulking and the body has gotten used to that, for the body to now lose weight and lose the amount of body fat that you want to lose, the calories have to go in the opposite direction. Okay, everyone's different, but that is a big part of it, especially in the initial phase where you're trying to get yourself into a deficit, start seeing progress coming through and things happening. Onto that would be making adjustments. You might be due an adjustment. You might be due an adjustment to your food. We might have to take away a little bit of carbohydrates. We might have to take away a little bit of fats. In a diet, I would always like to and aim to keep protein the exact same. I would never be bringing it down. If anything, bringing it up a small little bit for satiety reasons. But you might be due an adjustment, whether that comes from fats, from carbohydrates, from both. Right? I will always bring fats down to a point where they are just about sustainable in a good range for us to manage throughout the entire diet. Again, at the start of the diet, we'll always have room to play with them. You know, fats are the most caloric dense of all three macronutrients. And carbs are that one thing, you know, where we have the most to play with. You're typically going to be, you know, the highest macronutrient, the highest amount of calories every single day that you eat are going to be from carbohydrates. So that's the main bulk that we're going to have to play with through the diet. An adjustment could be 25 grams of carbohydrates. Pull 25 grams of carbohydrates from the diet, see what happens over the space of a week, over the space of 2 weeks. It might happen, okay? You might have to pull a little bit more, okay? Once you start to see things happening in terms of weight is moving, body fat is starting to come off, you're starting to see differences in your visuals, you know that adjustment worked. And it might take a little bit longer than you think, but you have to be patient with it. You know, we have a certain amount of weeks that we have here to lose the amount of body fat that we want to lose. We want to make sure that we still have a little bit of food to eat when we get to the end of it. It might not be a lot, but we want to make sure we have a little bit and we have room to play with as the diet goes along. So do not axe all your food at the very beginning. That's a big mistake I've made in the past and a big mistake I see a lot of people making every single time they try and diet for the summer. Moving on, we're going to talk about expenditure. Expenditure in the form of steps, in the form of cardio, everything that you do exercise-wise every single day to burn body fat. Okay? Do not neglect your cardio and do not neglect your steps. Two separate tools. Make sure you're aware of that as well. Cardio and steps are not the same. Steps are just moving around, walking about for the day, going about your business, getting your steps in. Have a good step goal. Okay? Your step goal does not have to be what everyone thinks it is, what everyone says it should be. It doesn't have to be 10,000. I'm currently doing 16,000 steps a day. Every single person is going to be different. Steps are a really easy way to burn calories, and they burn a lot more calories than you think on a daily basis in terms of doing none versus doing a lot. Steps are a very easy way, fatiguing way for you to burn calories every single day. When I'm making an adjustment to steps, I might bump them up by 2,000. Another way for you to burn an extra few calories, make that deficit that you're in right now that little bit bigger. On the other hand, we have cardio. Cardio is a tool there for us to be able to use to get our heart rate up, burn fat on the spot. It is inevitable, majority of us will have to do quite a bit of cardio as our diet goes along. So don't shy away from it. Do not skip your cardio, and do not be lazy with your cardio either. There's 30 minutes of cardio, and then there's 30 minutes of cardio. Make the most out of the amount of cardio that you're doing right now. A good hard 30 minutes is going to be a lot better than 45 minutes of shit work. Okay? Cardio is work. Steps are what you're doing on a daily basis, just moving about. Okay? You might need a little adjustment to cardio. Okay? If you're doing 5 cardio sessions a week of 20 minutes right now, bump that up to 5 30-minute sessions. Okay? That might be a little bit too much for you right now. Do 5 25-minute sessions. Bumping that up slowly makes it a little bit more manageable, instead of all of a sudden going from doing 20 minutes to 40 minutes or 20 minutes to 60 minutes. Okay, again, much like our food, we need to have room to play with as time goes along. We want to get the most out of doing what we are currently doing. Okay, simple as lose the most amount of body fat with the current plan that we're on, with our cardio, with the steps, with our food. Okay, so we might need a little adjustment in cardio. And again, sometimes we think, that we're doing enough, but we're probably not. And we might have to do that little bit more. That's slowing you down from seeing progress through pictures, through the scales, the overall successfulness of the diet so far. Okay. The next thing would be your routine. Okay. Waking up every single day, not knowing what you're going to do, is setting yourself up for failure. Simple as. Okay. You should know what you're doing from the start of the day till the very end of the day, every single day. Now, I do want to, make sure, that you realize that you should take it one day at a time. Don't be thinking in advance. Just think of the day that we've got right here in front of us. Me right now, I have my cardio done, my training done, my steps nearly done for the day. All I'm thinking about is nailing today. So I'm getting to the end of the day, making sure I've nailed my food. I'm making sure I've nailed the steps. I already have that cardio box ticked. I have that training box ticked. Go along your day with everything that you need to get done and tick those boxes off. Okay? Have structure to your day to make sure that you're going to get everything that you need to get done on that given day done. What happens a lot of us is the diet goes along, the weeks go along, the days go along, and days don't go to plan as much as we'd like, and they can happen quite often. And the more they happen, the more lazy we start to get with it. I'll pick up that cardio session later on in the week. Will you? Probably not. I'll do it next week. You won't, because you've more cardio to do next week. You overate a little bit on the food. Again, that often carries us into the next day. We're, a little bit sloppy. What I often find is when we fall off the diet, it's a lot harder to get back on the diet. So your best bet is to just make sure that the diet is as sustainable and as adherable as possible. Okay, I would much rather someone be eating a little bit more food on a daily basis than always on the verge of going off plan and always on the verge of cheating on their diet. Okay, because someone who cheats on their diet versus someone who doesn't has a much better chance of getting to where they want to be in X weeks amount of time. Okay, simple as. Make sure you set that day up that's enjoyable. Okay, and yes, there will come a time that it will not be that enjoyable. The amount of cardio we have to do, the steps, the hunger every single day. But don't shy away from it. You chose that you were going to do this diet for the summer. Sign that contract with yourself and understand it's not going to be permanent. This is temporary. This diet is temporary for us to get the body fat off. Before we know it again, we're going to be back in a bulk. Before we know it again, the diet is going to be over and we're not going to be that interested in a load of food. Okay, simple as. Okay, the next thing I would start to look at is everything outside of what you're currently doing. Okay, your stress management, your sleep, your routine outside of the gym stuff, your routine outside of like food and everything like that. Just trying to set that up, to manage it as best as possible, right? What we're doing here, doing the diet, is meant to benefit our life. Everything we're doing, the training, the nutrition, tracking everything, being on top of everything, is meant to benefit our life as a whole. And if it is doing that, great, but make sure that the whole day is set up perfectly, that you're able to enjoy it, things are moving along. Because if everything is set up enjoyably. And again, it's not always going to be the case. You know, there will be days where we're going to be dragging, we're going to be tired, but you don't want to go through the next 8, 12, 20 weeks of misery. You know, you want to be able to enjoy it, right? And that's a problem a lot of people will face, is that enjoyment factor just isn't there. You know what I mean? You know, you get to the end of the diet and it's just like, ugh, I didn't enjoy any of that. Enjoy it while you're doing it, because before you know it, you're going to be on the other side of it, and you'll be looking back and thinking, I should have enjoyed that, you know? Again, is it meant to be enjoyable the whole time? Probably not, you know, and there is days we're going to have to embrace the suck, but for the most part, we should be able to enjoy it, and especially at the start, in the early stages of it, before we start to dig in nice and hard and the body's starting to fight back and say, I don't want to lose any fat anymore, you know what I mean? The biggest difference, and the one that we're going to wrap things up on here, because I think I want to keep this short enough and just have those as the first few pointers for you to, you know, take a deeper look at, because a lot of what I spoke about there are the main things that you need to be looking at to make sure that things are actually progressing in the diet. If you want to chat further about it, go ahead, click the link in the description, go through to my coaching application form, and we can speak about coaching to have that accountability factor there, which is the one thing that you are missing. It is so easy to answer to ourselves. You know, if we have no one else there to answer to, you know, I'm in this house on my own right now, you know, and I'm going to be a little bit tired some days. You know, there's no one there watching me, what I'm doing, you know, and it is so easy to give in to temptation. It is so easy to give in to ourselves when we have no one else but ourselves to show up to. Simple as, if you have a coach and you know you have to show up to that coach every single week, you have to show pictures of yourself from that day a week later, every single week, the likelihood of you messing things up, the likelihood of you going off plan is not zero, but is a lot less than when it's only yourself that you have to answer to. So a big recommendation that I have for you is get on board with a coach and take that stress away from yourself, knowing that it's only yourself to answer to. And on those days that are harder, you have that accountability there. You know that you need to show up. You have someone to answer to. Another big part of having that coach there is not second guessing, and not always having to second guess your decisions and your adjustments that you'll make yourself. Sometimes emotions can get the better of us in terms of decision making. I know myself, if I was in this current situation coaching myself versus having my coach, I would probably be doing more cardio, eating less food, and digging myself into a deeper hole and setting myself short, because I would probably end up falling off when I get to the point that it gets very unsustainable and I'm doing it for too long and I'm not seeing what I want to see from it because I haven't the correct setup. Now, not saying that you do not have the correct setup, but sometimes there can be that little bit of an emotional, you know, adjustments being made, and, you know, thoughts that are just on the fly when we're having a bad day, that we're like, right, I need to do this, or I need to do that. Having a coach removes that. Okay, you're still going to be questioning things, you're still going to be wondering what's the story here, you know, why are things moving slow, but have trust in your coach and make sure that you are 100% accountable to them, adhering to the plan that they've set for you to see results coming through from that. Let me know what you think. They are the main things, the main big rocks, the main variables that you should be looking at if you're struggling to lose body fat right now. Again, any questions that you have, drop them in the comments below. Drop the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be doing a lot more of these as we are on the lead up to summer now. We're still plenty of time away from summer for you to make a big change, but for you to make that big change, you need to start now. And if you have already started but things aren't going well, you need to look at that plan that you're on and make the adjustments necessary for you to start seeing results from.